G'day, ladies and gentlemen. ScottyD here from the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network, and welcome into the next installment in our series, How to Play Warhammer 40,000, 10th edition. Alrighty, everyone. So for today's installment of our How to Play Warhammer 40,000, 10th edition series here on the ATWN, where we're continuing our look at the different ways you can play the game, how to go about building army lists, and the core rules of the game, we are jumping into looking at stratagems in 10th edition for today's video. And we're going to be looking at all the different aspects that they have when you are looking to use them in your games of Warhammer 40,000. Now, before we jump in, I want to thank everyone who has been joining us here on the YouTube channel as of late. Really appreciate your support here by subscribing, by enjoying the content, by leaving likes and comments as well. It is really appreciated. So thank you so much. And let's jump into stratagems for 10th edition. So there's a couple of different elements when it comes to stratagems for 10th edition that we're going to be looking at. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is how to use a stratagem. Now, straight off the bat, a stratagem is an ability or a impact on a rule or a unit that will maybe give you a benefit to your saves, or it might help you do some additional damage to an enemy unit. There's a variety of different stratagems that all the armies across the game have access to, as well as the core stratagems that every army has access to that we'll be going through towards the end of the video as well. So when you go to use a stratagem, you need to reduce your total command point count by the amount that is listed on the stratagem. So say if a stratagem such as command reroll costs 1 command point, you have 2 command points, you reduce your command point count by 1 down to 1 when you're wanting to use that stratagem. And if you don't have the number of command points that you need to use a stratagem, then you're actually unable to make use of it. You just can't bottom out your points to use it. You need to have that many command points in your pocket to be able to utilize that stratagem. Now, normally each stratagem is only be able to be used once per phase. However, there are some that have further restrictions on that as well. They might be only once per turn or once per game. So that is something to bear in mind when you're looking at stratagems as well. The next part of stratagems is that they have a type, and there are 4 different types of stratagems in 10th edition. These are very similar to what they were in 9th. We do have also the core stratagems that everyone has access to as well. Now we've got the battle tactic type of stratagem, and these are for bolstering a unit's offensive or defensive efficiency in battle. Then you've got the epic deed stratagems, which are mainly used for characters or individual units to perform heroic and mighty acts of heroism in your battle. Then you've got the strategic ploy stratagems. These enable a unit to gain a vital strategic insight and make use of a window of opportunity during your games. And war gear stratagems represent items of equipment that units may be equipped with that they're able to utilize during the battle that is only specifically available to that unit or selection of units with, say, a keyword. That's the 4 different main types of stratagems. Now, there's a couple of rules that will interact with the type of stratagem as well that we're going to look at when we get into a future video as well. Now, the next part of stratagems is when you are able to use stratagems themselves. Now, each stratagem will have its own particular turn or allocation of when you're actually able to utilize that specific stratagem, and it is color-coded. So if a stratagem is colored green, it is able to be used during either player's turn. However, if it is colored blue, then it can only be used by you during your own player turn. And if it is colored by red, then you're only able to use that during your opponent's turn. So that's something to bear in mind when you are wanting to utilize those stratagems, that you need to be aware of when you are able to and not able to utilize those stratagems effectively. Now, each stratagem on it will have a when and an effect at minimum. They can also have a target and a restriction involved with the stratagem as well that could impact how you utilize it. Final aspect of stratagems before we get into the core stratagems is how many you actually have access to during your games. Now, generally, there are 6 stratagems per detachment for your faction that you'll have access to during your games to make use of. And this is in addition to the 11 core stratagems that we're about to go into, because every faction and every detachment is going to have different abilities and different ways of playing. And so those 6 stratagems will really lean into that particular style of gameplay. Now, if you do have a codex, then you're going to have more detachments that will have different stratagems. However, if you have only got your index, you've only got the 1 detachment at the moment, so you've only got those initial 6 stratagems to make use of as well. So that is just something to bear in mind when you are looking to use stratagem games. Now, we are going to be getting into looking at the 10 different core stratagems that everyone has access to, and we're also going to have them popping up on the screen so you guys can actually see the way they're worded. I've kind of done it abridged version to just make it a bit easier for reading them off, for the videos. So the first one we are looking at is the command reroll stratagem. Now, this is a 1 CP battle tactic stratagem, and it is colored green. So the way you use it is after you have made one of the following rolls, you can re-roll the result. So if you make it to hit, a to wound, a damage roll, saving throw, advance, charge, desperate escape test, hazardous test, or determining the number of attacks made by a weapon, model, or unit in your army, you are able to use this stratagem to re-roll the result. The next stratagem is the counter-offensive stratagem. It is 2 CP. It is a strategic ploy stratagem that is green in color. Now, during the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has fought, you can select one of your units that is within engagement range of an enemy unit or multiple enemy units that has not already fought this phase, and that unit fights next. So it's commonly referred to as an interrupt. So you are able to interrupt your opponent if they've got multiple fights first units. You can use this stratagem to actually interrupt the flow of battle for them and actually attack with one of your units before they get to attack, when you normally wouldn't be able to when you've received charge on multiple fronts. The next stratagem is the Epic Challenge stratagem. Now, this is a 1 CP stratagem that is an epic deed, and it is green in color. Now, during the fight phase, when a character from your army is within engagement range or one or more attached units is selected to fight, so an attached unit is a normal unit that's got a character attached to it, one character model from your army gains the precision ability on all of its melee attacks until the end of the phase. So you're actually able to dedicate your close combat attacks directly against the character when making those attacks. The next stratagem is Insane Bravery, which is 1 CP. It is an epic deed stratagem, and it is blue in color, meaning that you can only do it during your turn. Now, during the battle shock step of the command phase, before you make a battle shock check for your unit in your army, you can select one unit that does have to make a battle shock check before you make that roll, and they automatically pass that check. And this stratagem has been errated to being a once per battle stratagem as well. And this is going to be a bit different to the version we have popping up on screen as well. The next one is the grenade stratagem. So this is a 1 command point war gear stratagem that is blue in color. During your shooting phase, you can select one unit that has the grenade keyword and is not within engagement range of an enemy unit and has not been selected to shoot this phase, whilst also being within 8 inches of an enemy unit and visible to the enemy unit as well. You get to roll 6d6, and for each 4+, that selected enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So you're able to do some additional damage with grenades there. It's a really good chip damage option, or if you're facing something that's high toughness and you're needing to get some damage through in addition to shooting, this could be a really good option to make use of as well. Next up, we've got Tank Shock. Now, this is a 1 CP strategic ploy stratagem that is also blue in color. Now, during the charge phase, select one vehicle unit from your army, and until the end of the charge phase, the selected unit, when it ends a charge move, you select one enemy unit that's within engagement range and one melee weapon that model is equipped with. You roll a number of dice equal to the strength characteristic of that weapon, and if it is greater than the enemy unit's toughness, you get to roll an additional 2d6. For each 5+ rolled, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound up to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. So say, for example, you charge in a close combat with a Redemptor Dreadnought, and you've got his Redemptor Fist. Strength 12, you're rolling 12d6. It's more than likely higher than your enemy's toughness. You're rolling 14d6, and every 5+ is going to cause a mortal wound, up to 6 mortal wounds, which can be really handy when you need to make use of that to get through additional damage before getting to your close combat attacks. Next up, we've got the Rapid Ingress stratagem, which is 1 CP. It is a strategic ploy stratagem, and it is red in color. At the end of your opponent's movement phase, select one unit from your army that is within reserves, and that unit is able to be deployed onto the battlefield as if it was your own reinforcement step during your own movement phase. The restriction here is that you cannot use this stratagem to enable a unit to arrive onto the battlefield from reserves during a battle round that it normally would not be able to do so. This normally means that you can't do it during battle round 1, is more what this is referring to here. But also some units will have further restriction. The next stratagem is firing Overwatch, which is 1 CP. It is a strategic deploy stratagem and it is red in color. Now, during either your opponent's move or charge phase, just after an enemy unit is set up or when it starts or ends a normal, advance, fallback, or charge move, you get to select one of your units that is within 24 inches of that enemy unit, and it is eligible to shoot as if it were your own shooting phase, and that unit can shoot at that enemy unit at that point in time. And until the end of the phase, when you are making ranged attacks against that enemy unit that you have selected, only unmodified hit rolls of 6 score a hit against the target unit, and you are only allowed to use this stratagem once per turn, so you're not able to Overwatch in your opponent's movement phase and your opponent's charge phase, for example. So there's something to bear in mind. You need to be quite strategic as to when you are utilizing your Overwatch stratagem. The next stratagem is the go to ground stratagem. It is a 1 CP battle tactic stratagem that is red in color. During your opponent's shooting phase, when an enemy unit selects one of your units as a target of ranged weapon attacks, models in the selected unit gain the benefit of cover and have a 6+ invulnerable save until the end of the phase. Pretty much, they're hitting the deck, and that 6+ invulnerable save can come in quite handy when you are needing to potentially save a unit from being blown away. Next up, we have got the smoke screen stratagem, which is a 1 CP war gear stratagem, which is red in color. You also use this one during your opponent's shooting phase, and when an enemy unit targets one of your units as the target of a range attack, models in the selected unit get the benefit of cover and gain stealth ability until the end of the phase. So it also means -1 to hit in addition to +1 to your save, up to a maximum of 3+. So it can be really handy if you're wanting to mitigate incoming damage and improving your save rather than just having that vulnerable save if you do have that smoke screen keyword over going ground. Then the last stratagem we're going to be looking at is the heroic intervention stratagem. It is 2 command points, it is a strategic deploy stratagem, and it is red in color. Now, during your opponent's charge phase, just after an enemy unit ends a charge move, select one unit from your army that is within 6 inches of that enemy unit and is eligible to make a charge against that enemy unit as if it were your own charge phase. Your unit now can declare a charge that only targets that enemy unit, and you resolve the charge as if it were your own charge phase. You can only choose a vehicle keyword model if it also has the walker keyword, and even if the charge is successful, your unit does not get any benefits for making the charge this turn, so they don't get the benefit of the vice versa ability after making that charge. That's something to bear in mind when you are wanting to use the heroic intervention stratagem, but it can be quite pivotal to get a unit that you want to support another unit with into close combat. And those are all of the core 11 stratagems that every player has access to for the game to make use of when you are playing Warhammer 40,000 for 10th edition, no matter what faction you play. And with those covered off, that's actually everything you need to know when it comes to stratagems in playing your games, just using the core rules of Warhammer 40,000. And as I said during the video, there are some additional rules we're going to look at when we get to our FAQs and balance starter slate video to inform you about some of those changes in there as well. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so that is it for today's video. I really want to thank you for joining us for this one. I hope that it was very educational. It informed you about what you needed to know for stratagems, how to use them, the core ones that you have access to, and the different rules around them as well. If you did enjoy this content, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you have any questions around stratagems as well, ask down in the comment section. I'll happily answer you there, or one of our other mods on the YouTube channel can as well as if you want to catch more content from us here at the ATWN, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to be notified as to when we are releasing the next series of content, whether that's tournament games from tournament coverage we do, ITC South Pacific snapshots, tournament previews of upcoming events, a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to be doing for the How to Play series for 10th edition Warhammer 40k, and from Sprue to Tabletop as well. And if you do want to catch any of us live when we are doing, say, tournament coverage, or when we're doing hobbying sessions, or some of these tournament previews and such, make sure you head over to Twitch, follow us at Astralis TWN, turn on that notification bell as well, so you're notified as to when streams are going live, and you're able to tune in live and ask any questions you might have there that you don't necessarily want to answer here. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.